every first Sunday of the month, everybody has to go up and explain why they believe that it's true.
Yeah.
And I think something about that made me ready to accept that sometimes you can have a room full of people and they're basically all just totally wrong.
So if you do an economics degree, you get taught that financial markets are a very efficient system for redistributing investment wisely into the economy. Is it an efficient system for the allocation of finance, or is it a sort of an increasingly speculative machine into which we're all being sucked?
So I study economics at the London School of Economics, as you know, and we taught efficient markets hypothesis, that markets are efficient and they understand what's going on. And I was an economics student, you know, to be honest, when I study economics, I wasn't that interested in economics, actually. I just thought that was a good way to get a well-paid job, which is, I think, what most people at LSE are doing. But then it's...
In the economics department.
In the economics department, I'm sure. It's funny, because then you go on to become a trader, and then you start to realise, like I'm the market,
yeah.
and, like, the alcoholic Australian next to me is the market.
It's also the market.
And you look at him, and you look at yourself, and you think, like, how efficient are we? you can't help but wonder. You know, the guy's come back, you know, and he's had about like 7 beers, and he's like, you know, it's just like properly just red, and his teeth are all red, and you start to think, I'm not sure how efficient it is. And there's this, I think there's this kind of weird, it's like idolisation of like economics and economists. They really understand. And I think that economists have kind of created this themselves. I think one thing that I wanted to do with the book was just really take you in there, not to the trading floors, but also to places like LSE, and just show you, like, look at these guys. Because the truth is, I thought when I went to LSE it'd be full of like geniuses. And no disrespect, don't fall over.
So the chair's falling apart, never mind.
No disrespect to people at LSE, but you know, they were no smarter than the kids from back home. And the truth is, people are getting in there because they're from rich families. And it's the same with financial markets. And, you know, the book is the story of how I won my job in a card game, and then within like 3 or 4 years, I'm the top trader at the bank, right? That shouldn't be possible. Like a 24-year-old should not be the top trader at the bank. But the reason I was is because we're just giving jobs out to people whose dads are rich. It's as simple as that at the end of the day. And realistically, I think I talk a lot about social mobility and about inequality, and we know it's a bad thing if you don't have social mobility. But I think an obvious consequence of giving the best jobs, like economists and traders, to people who have rich dads is you end up with a lot of incompetent people in powerful positions. This is the flip side. If you're not giving the jobs to the smart kids, you're giving it to the rich kids, then you're not giving it to the best kids.
On that question of who's coming in, I mean, I want to come back to class in a bit, because I think it's a really important theme in the book and a reality in where we are. What were the skills that Citibank were looking for from you? Were they about the real economy?
You know,
what were they about?
So in the book, there's the early part when I'm like getting the job. And I win my internship in a card game. And then you turn up on the trading floor, right? Trading floor, for those who don't know, massive place. Everyone has like 10 screens like this. And they're all massive, I don't know why. Everyone's enormous, right? And they're talking in this like language you don't understand. And you sit next to them, and you're there, you're like, you've got to convince them to give you a job. And you have to sit next to them, and they just talk to you about, and you don't understand anything they're saying. But obviously you don't want them to know that you don't understand what anybody's saying. So you're just like, you're just doing this.
Nodding seriously.
You look into the distance and you nod, and I became like the most popular intern in the whole, and everybody wanted me. And I was very aware that I'd spent most of the internship pretending to understand people that I didn't understand. And I couldn't understand how that had made me so popular. But the mad thing of it is, they were right, because then I became the best trader on the floor. And I think that, you know, now I exist in the media and politics, and I think my class background holds me back in these places. But I think the traders were the first guys to look at me and think, fuck me, if this kid's got in here, he must be fucking good. And I think they were right.
Well, and they clearly were, because you made a great deal of money. So one of the really interesting things in the book, and I want to pick up on the irony, what Gary is saying here about people coming in absolutely stoned on coke or drunk out of their minds. The efficient markets hypothesis, the thing he will have been taught in the economics degree, says that financial markets are made up of rational, informed actors who spend their lives looking at the fundamentals of the economy in order to reach deeply informed decisions about what's going on. You say in a very honest and entertaining way, it's like, I didn't know what was going on. But also over time you realise no one else knew what they were doing either, that there is a kind of bluffing game going on in the sense of what people are responding to, which is not real movements in the real economy, but what is your sense of the nature of the game that people are
That's
playing?
a good question. So I think, put yourself back in the shoes of that kid who's there on the floor sitting next to the guys, and the guys around them using language they don't understand. And what do most people do? What do most people do? Most people start to imitate the language they're hearing.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's what most people do. And then they just start I remember one guy, I was sitting next to one guy and some piece of economic data came out, like PMI or something. And he was like, what's PMI? What? And I didn't know. And he was like, you need to know. And then I asked him, what does PMI stand for? And he was like, good question, find out. This guy obviously, and then I started to and I still do this today, right? If I hear an acronym and I don't know what it means, I ask, what's the acronym? Don't do that. Because so many people use acronyms that they don't know what they stand for.
Yeah.
And I think really a big part of the reason why I was a successful trader is because of my class background. And I'll tell you why, right? Because people who are born in rich families and they go to elite schools and they go to elite universities, as long as they never piss their dad off, they will be really, really rich. And they'll get a beautiful wife and a beautiful house and they'll go on ski holidays in some fucking mountain in Switzerland that I've never heard of. And they are in a situation where just don't piss anyone off and you will win. That is the life of rich people, right? My dad ain't going to do shit for me, right? So I have to, he's a nice guy, don't get me wrong, but he's not going to get me any of that stuff. So I have to actually do something. Yeah. And I think basically what you have in this, and I think politics is very much like this. You have a lot of people just trying to fit in. Have you seen that movie, American Psycho?
I haven't, but I know.
It's this good scene, right? He's in the back of the taxi listening to his headphones and he's complaining about his job. And his girlfriend says, why don't you quit that job? You hate it anyway. Yeah. And he says, because I want to fit in. Yeah. And I think really, the longer I spend in these elite spaces, what I've realised is most posh people in elite spaces, who've been in elite spaces all their lives, they're not trying to understand what's going on. They're not trying to be the best in their space. They're not trying to figure it out. They're not trying to take things to the next level. They're trying to fit in. Yeah. They're trying not to upset the people around them because that's their social life.
Do you think there was an advantage for you, given your background, that if you come up in environments that aren't physically safe in the same way, they're not privileged in the same way, that if you come out of poor backgrounds, it makes you incredibly good at reading the spaces that you're in, and there's a kind of a different level of an ability to read a room because that's part of being safe.
There's a small number of poor people who manage to get onto the trading floor. Yeah. In internships and stuff, and sometimes they get into schemes that are supposed to help disadvantaged people. And very often, what I find when I speak to them is they're really plagued by this. I'm not as good as the people around.
Yeah, imposter syndrome.
Yeah. And it breaks my heart a little bit to see that because I know the guys who they think they're not as good as, you know what I mean? And I know, but it's, I don't know why. My parents are very religious Mormons. And I think I don't know if it's anymore. Mormonism is almost a bit of a cult, to be honest. And I think there's something that comes from growing up surrounded. Every first Sunday of the month, everybody has to go up and explain why they believe that it's true. Yeah. And I think something about that made me ready to accept that sometimes you can have a room full of people and they're basically all just totally wrong about a thing. And I think, listen, don't get me, people are smart, but I think when people get together, and I think this is something, people are really bad at this. People are very, very bad at recognising the crazy things which they as a group believe.
But this is the Keynesian critique of financial markets, right? Which is that there's herd behaviour. It's not made up of rational individuals, mate. It's herd behaviour and animal spirits. People are like, well, the herd's moving this way, I've got to go with the herd. And then you get booms and bubbles which burst, and then the herd goes, oh crap, it's all falling apart, and they run in the opposite direction, and the depressions go deeper than they would go. So actually what you're talking about there is quite a sort of Keynesian argument.
I've not thought about it, but yeah, I think that's what it is. I think I love people. Everybody I know is a person, right? But people,
some of my best friends.
People form groups, and then they start to believe the maddest things as a group. And like I see this on the political right. Now I kind of inhabit the political left. I see it sometimes on the political left as well. People just, there become certain ideas that we all just accept them. And you just can't question them.
Do you think, and this, you don't have to answer this, it's quite a personal question, but your parents are Mormons, they have deep moral beliefs.
Yeah.
You're unusual, to put it mildly, to have made millions of pounds in financial markets and to have then become absolutely committed to debunking financial markets and trying to eradicate poverty. And do you think that has to do with your upbringing, that there's a moral streak in there that you set aside and it has come roaring back into your life?
I do wonder.
To continue watching this video, click the link in the top left or in the description below.
With a free trial, you can enjoy the full talk and thousands more.
Thank you for being part of the conversation.